everybody. Welcome to this International ISNS Wisdom Session on the topic of living personal genius. I know I'm really excited to gather some really good wisdom nuggets from Michael and from each other on this session today about taking beyond the accessing personal genius and bringing it into our lives so we can live it on a day-to-day basis. I am Jason Schneider, the current president of the INS USA, and I will be co-hosting and co-leading our session today with Yudi. Yudi?
Hello, everyone. I'm Yudi. I'm from Indonesia, and today we'll be so excited to can co-host with Jason for this wisdom session.
So we're going to dive right in today. We've got 90 minutes. Michael is in Egypt right now. We're running a training, so we're going to be as efficient as possible with our time today. If you can, please mute your microphones so we can really focus on the program, unless at the end, maybe we'll have some time for you to unmute and share your hellos, goodbyes, and maybe some questions in the voice chat here. So we have 90 minutes today. We hold these sessions twice per month. We alternate 1 month, twice every other month. So we have this session here, and then the next month we'll have our community session. We'll be announcing the dates for those at the end of this session. And this session here is really about deepening our knowledge and experience so that we could be at the top of our game and at the top of our impact in our local communities and beyond. So before we get into the learnings, let us get our international voices into the room so we can connect with our community. And so I will share the screen here and pass it on to Yudi to introduce the institutes.
It will be okay. Okay, so now let's gather from the Egypt and Middle East and North Africa Institute. Hello.
Feel free to unmute yourself and say hello.
And say
hi.
Hi.
Okay. And now from Institute of NeuroSemantics Brazil. Come on and unmute yourself.
Hello, bom dia.
Okay, wonderful. And Institute of NeuroSemantics Africa.
Hello, Madume. Hello.
Hello.
And Institute of NeuroSemantics Philippines.
Where is the Philippines?
Anybody? Okay. Hello. So I representing. And Institute of NeuroSemantics USA. And next is Institute of NeuroSemantics Australia.
Hello.
Hello. And the next one is Institute of NeuroSemantics Europe. Where's Europe? Everyone? Okay. And next one is the Institute of NeuroSemantics Malaysia.
Yay, Malaysia.
And the next one, oops. Okay, and Institute of NeuroSemantics Scandinavia. Hear your voice?
Yeah, Scandinavia.
Okay. And from Institute of NeuroSemantics Hong Kong and China.
Hello, 你好。
你好。
Yeah, 你好. And from Institute of NeuroSemantics Indonesia.
Hello.
Halo, selamat malam.
Selamat malam.
And next is Institute of NeuroSemantics Latin America.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yes.
and so while we have you on, David, maybe you could just make a quick announcement about the NSTT coming up this year. I know I'm excited.
Yes, I am very excited to let you know that we have already a group. I really encourage you to, send people, or if you want to join us, we have still the early prize. It's ending very soon, very, very soon. So let me just show you a quick picture of the announcement, the advertisement. Here we are. NSTT in the Riviera Maya, Cancun. It's a beautiful place, by the way. And all the price includes everything except your flight, everything. So no worries with meals, dinners, drinks. Well, you know, you shouldn't drink when you're in NSTT, but anyway, drinks are free. So if you're interested, just send me an email. My email is, I can type it right now in the chat. So just to let you know, few days from this day until 15 September, the early price is ending. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Definitely, I'm excited to transition today into the topic of living personal genius, which is a great topic if you want to train that. If you're already a trainer, it's always great to go back and resit. And if you want to become a trainer, this will be one of the programs that Michael's going to walk us through today. So as we transition into the wisdom conversation with Michael, just a couple of quick frames I'd like to set. Number one is, please, if you can, leave your video on. This is a great session for us to see our faces. I'm sure Michael likes to see your engagement in the room. And so if you can, please leave your video on so that we can see you and share the space together, even though it's virtual. Please keep your microphone muted throughout the presentation so that we can stay focused. Like I mentioned earlier, there may be opportunities for you to unmute later on in the presentation, but of course, while Michael is speaking and Yudi is speaking and anyone else is announcing, it's best to stay focused. Even though we are skilled at our flow state, it's nice to keep the interruptions to a minimum regardless. If you have any questions throughout, please, we encourage you to type them in the chat. At any time throughout the presentation, just type the word question in all capitals or the letter Q in capital before so we can see it in the chat there. And feel free to share any big takeaways, any how fantastics or how fascinatings in the chat as well, so we can share in each other's collaborative learning experience. And so as we transition now, I'd like to pass it over to Yudi.
Thank you, Jason. And now, because Michael's time is very limited, they are taking a middle of the break from the training in Egypt. And so I didn't take a long time. I will just go to Michael. Do you mind to share to us about today's topic about the living personal genius? I'm so excited about today's topic because it's like a hidden gems for me. Please, Michael.
Okay. All right. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. So we're going to talk about LPG, living personal genius. And I have on this board here, if you can focus in here, LPG is the power and the grace to live your expertise. So that's what it is. And to live your expertise, that genius state that you have developed in APG, you need to take charge of yourself in terms of resilience and insult and all the different challenges that can come as you express your expertise. You need to gracefully touch the people in your lives. So we're going to, what? Okay, look there. And gracefully touch the people in our lives so that we have rich relationships as we're taking charge of whatever that expertise is. And then overflowing values, that's for the business part. The business part is being able to add value and to do business in a very healthy way that's overflowing. So day 3 is on business, and then ending on day 4 with supercharged attitude. These are the 4 key things for living personal genius if we're going to continue it. So Neurosemantics starts with APG, accessing personal genius. And with accessing personal genius, you're picking a expertise that you want to be completely engaged in. And as you're completely engaged in it and you're unleashing your potential, you've gone through 4 empowerment patterns of APG, 3 healing patterns of APG, 4 programming patterns of APG, and then 3 ecology patterns. And what all of those 14 patterns do is to set you up so that you can turn on, turn off that genius state, whether it's a coaching genius state, training genius state, writing genius state, reading genius state, whatever it is, you can turn it on and turn it off, and now you got it. But will it stay? Will it last? Will it be sustainable? That's where LPG comes in to sustain the living genius. So in LPG, we have 4 days. First day's on resilience, second day's on relationships, then on business, then on attitude. Day one, just to give you an idea of what's going to happen in day one, we're going to do a pattern on productivity and initiative so that you'll be highly proactive and taking the initiative, a pattern on optimism, on resilience, and uninsultability. So 4 patterns, and they're designed so that you can become resiliently empowered. So whatever happens in that expertise, you'll have those 4 patterns. The next day is on relationship, and it's about heartfully touching the lives of other people. So we're going to do 5 patterns on day 2. Magnanimity, that's about being big-hearted. Forgiveness, that's having a sweet spirit, releasing hurts and regrets and frustrations and betrayals, forgiveness. Solution focus, which is going to be a positive spirit. Humor, creating that lightheartedness to where we don't take ourselves ultimately serious. And then the giving and the receiving of feedback for open-mindedness. So day 2, as we gracefully touch the lives of other people, it's going to help us to be big-hearted, sweethearted, positive, lighthearted, and open-minded. So that's really about the personal development of the person running their personal genius pattern. Day 3, business. We're going to talk about inside-out wealth. We're going to talk about living with passion. So first of all, we add value to what we're doing. Then we live those values. Then we see and seize opportunities. So this is seeing the vision that's going to pull us into the future. We'll do a pattern on boldness. This is the courage to live your values. And then efficiency, which is to create the value of time and energy so it's serving us well. So abundant business, making sure that we can do business, adding value, living with passion, seizing opportunities, being able to do risk management. Day 4, we're going to end with supercharging the attitude, because ultimately it comes down to your attitude. We're going to then be opening up an attitude belief system to see what your attitudes are and what informs those attitudes. We'll release sabotaging attitudes. We'll develop a robust attitude, and then we'll supercharge that robust attitude. So that's what's in LPG.
Okay, interesting, Michael. So let me take it from what you just shared from the LPG. Before the APG is for ourselves, then it seems to me LPG is like something we can create to the outside. By we sustaining, we have the state, and then by having a relationship with the others, creating a business. Is it my understanding is right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. And I mean that by, yeah. So that's the beauty of the LPG. I mean, so when we learn about the LPG, living in it, we can creating some. It's more that we can create abundance, have a good relationship with the others, that kind of thing.
Right. So the idea is that you've got a genius state, whatever it is, but it's not operating apart from the rest of your life. So it's going to be part of the ups and downs of life. That's day 1, and why resilience. It's going to be part of all the relationships, the social relationships. That's why day 2, relationships. It's also part of how you do business, how you make money. That's day 3. And then to put the cap on it, attitude is day 4. These are the things that sustain the expertise, the genius state.
Okay. So that's going to sustain our genius state. And
right.
Okay. That's a question for me that before for me is that LPG, I heard about LPG like 2011, but after that, really didn't hear about it anymore. So, and now I'm hearing it again about the LPG. Why it takes so long, Michael, for you to sounding it again to?
Because you've had your ear locked down in Indonesia, and you haven't been aware of LPG in Italy, in Thailand, in Australia, in Sweden, in other places where it's been running.
Okay.
So we want to get LPG to Indonesia and other places.
Yeah, it will be fun. Okay. And for the other participant, if you have a question, you can just put it into the chat, or Irfan is already running a 3 batch of the LPG. Okay, thank you, Irfan. That's one thing about that. You say that at the beginning, the first is that about the relationship about have a big heart. Why is that so important to have a to make it a sustained state, Michael?
Say the last part of the question again. So important for
to make it like you in LPG is like how we can make it a sustained state. How we can have the state is more sustained after we learn how to access it in APG class. In LPG, it's more about how we can create it in a sustained state. And you say that everything that we learn in LPG is part of how we can creating a sustain. Can you explain it more about how it can make it sustain?
Yeah, let me go to another diagram here and go to this. So in LPG, Living Personal Genius, we're starting with that empowerment and that resilience. So the focus is on resilience. So when you get knocked down, you come back. And if you get knocked down by pessimism, then you bounce back with optimism. And so all of those attitudes is going to help us to stay the course and not give up. You can have a personal genius, but if you're letting things interfere and you're letting it get blocked, then you won't be resilient. So you have to be resilient with that genius state. The second thing is you have to stay connected to people. We're social beings, and we're only going to be effective if we're relating from our heart. So we start there and bring people in with us, because doing it alone is going to be quite inadequate. So we need to connect, and so we'll do that on day 2 with the ability to touch people's heart and to be magnanimous. That'll be our first pattern, magnanimous. We'll also do forgiveness, because something that could really knock you down is if you're resentful, hateful, bitter, regretting, and you won't let things go. So we're going to develop heart on day 2. Getting ourselves right will be day 1 and 2. Day 3, we're going to business, and this is about the products and services that we create. And if it comes out of our abundance and giving value, that's how business works. You give value, people pay for that value that you're contributing. And so if you're operating from abundance, but if you're not operating from abundance, then it's going to be much harder and much less effective. And then, of course, the great spirit, the great attitude is how we're going to put this at the end. This gives us 18 metastating patterns, 4 patterns, 5 patterns, 5 patterns, 4 patterns. 18 patterns, so that in addition to the original 14, now you are meditating yourself again and again and again with multiple things to bring much more sustainability to the genius state. We will end LPG with a test. The test is you identify some great resources that you're going to meditate, and you're going to create a Gestalt state out of 2 or 3 metastates. You're going to build a pattern. Then you're going to demonstrate that pattern. You'll do that pattern on one of the participants, and now you're going to get a meta state certification, and that certifies now 7 days of meta state practice.
Okay. So if you guys haven't have a sustained genius state, then you need to go to the LPG class. Okay, that's very wonderful, Michael, about how we can create more sustained genius state. Because we have this struggling, especially when we still feel we have a problem in our life, we have problem in our works about how to deal with the others. Sometimes it can break our genius state. So by learning about how to living the genius state, personal genius, it will help us to, I think it will really help me to understand a lot of issue in our life. So by learning the APG, the living personal genius, from what you say, that really helped me to understand about the a lot of issue in our life, so that I can make myself able to facing this kind of issue in my life with this genius state. It's really a wonderful thing. Okay.
So LPG answers the question, what's next? People come out of APG and they ask, what's next? Well, this is what's next. LPG, it takes the same thing, same processes, develops it to a much greater depth and quality, and this will make it more sustainable. So this is what's next. Inside of this is what we call generative neurosemantics.
Generative neurosemantic. Do you mind to explore it a little bit, Michael, about generative neurosemantic?
So neurosemantics, living my best meanings into my best performances, the synergy of meaning and performance, we do that through the metastating process. So when you learn how to metastate whatever you need, now we're going to give you some patterns on magnanimity and forgiveness and optimism and seeing opportunities and all kinds of things. But that's just the beginning. So these 18 patterns is nothing compared to all the patterns that can be created and all the meta states that you'd like to bring about. And when you do it this many times, you're going to start to develop that generative. You can generate new meta states and new experiences on the fly.
Okay. Attacking Michael. So it's just
enthusiasm.
Attacking. So it means that I can creating, like you said, I mean, at the 4th, I remember there's a test on the 4th day that we can create a pattern, a metastate pattern, is it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So, that's really interesting for me, that by learning that, so that I can creating my own pattern for me that can, it can be very useful for the others also.
Yeah. So guess what's happened? Over the years, when I've run LPG, and on day 4, when we give everybody the test late in the afternoon, I say, just pick something that you want. So pick something you want. And it's really interesting, the creativity that starts emerging, because people will select things I wouldn't have selected, because out of their life situation, they need this or this or this. And so they start building up a metastate pattern for the purpose of achieving something. And then I go around and say, I want to see you demonstrate that meditating process on someone. So install it in them. And as I watch it, I get all kinds of ideas. They get all kinds of ideas. This is the generative nature of neurosemantics in the first place, and how we keep progressing this field, inventing more things. So that's where it's generative neurosemantics.
Wow. Okay. Can I go to the question, Jason?
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions here in the chat. Let me see if there is a sense of order behind them. So one question from Ronald is, could you explain the framework behind LPG? I don't know exactly what he means by framework, but.
Well, the framework is just, it answers the question, what could go wrong? What could go wrong with your personal genius? You've got a genius coaching state. What could go wrong? Well, criticism. You don't know how to handle it, or you don't handle it very effectively. So uninsultability, or resilience, or
so even things like this can go wrong. Michael could be in his genius state, and well, even something like that on the outside, where maybe you were focused here in a focused state, and then something on the outside happens. So how can you maintain that? I'm sure is one of the things.
Jason, it's your turn.
So we've got some technical difficulties now, but I'm sure that they're sorting this out right now in the Egypt Institute there. I actually, while we're here and while we're waiting for them to sort out the technical issues, I would love to hear from you in the chat, which of those patterns would be most important for you? Because Michael ran through a lot of patterns answering the question, what could go wrong with your flow state, with your living your personal genius? And I'm curious, from the patterns that Michael mentioned, which one resonates with you the most as to what would be most valuable for you to maintain and sustain your genius state? So we could take a moment and share that. I'd be curious to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to share about that?
What do you think, Yudi? Yeah, I'll say it for me as well.
For me, is that when I thought what can go wrong for me, when that question asked, I tried to translate it into my mind first, that in the genius, the framework behind that is that, for especially about that, there's the boldness, I remember that Michael just said in the part of the LPG, that's something that really, for me, that's the part that can go wrong from me. That's sometimes about the dare, how to being bold to the others, to make a decision, and that kind of thing. That's kind of meta stating that I need to really develop more. That can be go wrong with that.
Yeah, I like that, being bold and taking risks. I would say one of the things I've been working on recently with this is about the relationships area and about having that open heart and connecting from the heart more. So getting out of the head and bringing it down into my body and into my relationships with people, to have more of an open heart and deeper, more human connections with people. So I see Manal shares here the same, actually, a big heart. We have, I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, Jane is more on a solution focus, and Irfan is on optimism. Yeah.
And it would be great if everyone could contribute here. It's always wonderful to hear, how everybody is different, but also how we're the same. So resilience from Bruno.
I heard, Jason, you also ran one time about the LPG. Do you mind to share what's your experience from there, from when you are doing the LPG?
Yeah, I mean, I can say as a participant going through the LPG, I did not even fully understand, just from what we've got from Michael so far, the outcome of being able to be generative, to be able to create your own custom patterns using metastates. That was something that I did not even take away the first time, that just sounds so valuable to me now as I think about it, to think about what is a challenge that you're facing and to be able to develop the metastating skills to create a very unique and custom pattern, either if it's for yourself, of course, because we apply to ourselves first, but also if you're a coach working with a coaching client, how can you create something that maybe what they want is something that's not in the manual, and it's not one of these custom patterns, and how can you do that skill? But what I really took away were these 15 other patterns. So we learn 14 patterns in APG. Actually, Michael said 18 metastating patterns. And so, I'm sure everyone here has had a profound impact in your life going through those 14 patterns from the APG.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to change my screen so I can see everyone's faces here. I'm not just talking to a couple. So yeah, it's much better. Hi, everybody. Good to see your smiles. And the rest of your family had like 4 little pictures. Now I've got more. And so a lot of these patterns for me are some of the ones that I practice on a regular basis, the patterns from the LPG. The resilience, which is, one of the patterns for resilience is what created Neuro-Semantics. I mean, that's the original modeling project where metastates came from. And what an important thing for us to have in our lives. Is that not fitting for you to be able to be resilient? I remember when the pandemic started and how we got knocked down, a lot of us. I mean, at least our plans did. Anybody else have your plans knocked down? All the trainers did. I know that for sure. We were running group events face to face, and it completely, and for me especially, it was in March of the year. So I don't know about you, I had just finished my plan. Anybody else have your plan for the year of all the trainings that you wanted to run or attend? And so having those resilience patterns was so profound for me to be able to run through and bounce back. And that's a lot of what I hear from my students now that we're getting back into face-to-face. They ask me, how were you able to bounce back so quickly? And the answer is the resilience patterns from the APG. How are you able to be proactive so that you can be proactively prepared for problems before they happen? Yeah, Marzuki.
Thank you, Jason. My first impression when I've not attended LPG before. My first impression when Michael began describing LPG, I contrasted with APG. APG is about you getting into the focus state to do what you need to do best. So, however, with LPG, bringing in the elements of heartful relating, abundant work, and great spirit, what I notice now here is that APG is about success. It's about me achieving the success in my life. LPG is about significance. It's about bringing success to the lives of others. And that is bringing us into the realm of self-actualization, in the sense that self-actualization is not about me, it is through me. So bringing in heartful relating, abundant work, now I'm beginning to be serving others. So it is not just about getting from me. Now it's about bringing it to the society, to others. So that's a big wow for me when Michael began describing LPG. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting.
I think I saw Lucid just arrived in the training room. What were you saying, your fans? Sorry.
Okay, so we now have Michael. You are muted, Michael. Being mute.
We have there we go. Welcome back.
Welcome back. So before you leave, there's a word that what can go wrong. Then suddenly you just
Yes, what can go wrong? Well, the internet can go wrong. Staying connected can go wrong.
Yeah. So that's the question about the framework, and then you starting with the statement about what can go wrong. The question is what can go wrong. The question from, I think from Ronald, right? Yeah, what can go wrong?
Okay.
The framework behind LPG.
Yeah, each day answers that question with different answers.
Okay, so we go to the next question. I think Jason. So there's any reason why you put APG as a prerequisite of coaching mastery ACMC and not put LPG as a prerequisite?
So you're asking about the prerequisites for LPG?
For the ACMC, for the coaching mastery, the prerequisite is APG. Why not LPG? Why not the living personal genius? Sorry.
Well, there haven't been enough trainers training it. It's one of the reasons we wanted to focus on at this time to highlight the power, the usefulness of LPG for the trainers, so more trainers will be providing it. It would be nice if we made that a prerequisite, but at this point we can't because there's not been enough people training it. Trainers have a real advantage of training LPG. If you train LPG, some people could come for one day and learn being resilient in whatever they're doing and dealing with criticism and insult. They could come for one day and learn about being heartful in their touch of relationships. And then that trainer could also then do another follow-up 3-day trainings on relationships, on being a great lover. They could do 1 day on business, and then later they could follow up with 3 days on unleashing your business genius, business training. Trainers to give people a touch of a lot of the rest of neurosemantics. And that's why I'm encouraging trainers to take it on and start training it.
Okay, that's a call for the trainer. And then the next one from Manal is that for me, from what I heard from Michael, from your explanation, Michael, the LPG is like creating the crucible inside us for creativity. That's a statement. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way. I think of it as the skill and the art of continuance, how to take something and sustain it over time with persistence and with quality so that it becomes an automatic way of functioning when you're living your genius state.
Okay, there's another one is that from Ronald. The question is that what are the 18 patterns from the LPG? I think that need to be reminded. The 18 patterns from the LPG. What are the 18 patterns from the LPG?
Okay, I read them earlier. You want me to read them again?
No, I think just skip that.
Okay.
For the later on, we can type it in the chat. That's from Joy.
One question here about one of the particular patterns. So we have a question from, let me see who it is, about how do I know if I'm operating from a state of abundance? How does one know if they are or are not?
The feeling of abundance is the sense or the words, there's plenty. And when I give this, I don't feel less, I feel more. And that abundance comes from living in the meta, the being needs and levels, because then you're experiencing the more pattern. The more love I give, the more capacity I have for loving, the more love I can give. The more knowledge I give, the more knowledge I have, and the more capacity I have. So that's the sense of abundance. And if you don't have that sense, then you're probably not living there, and you haven't moved to that meta level yet.
Okay, so there's another one just come up. Can we apply the pattern of LPG to ourselves, or do we need someone other than ourselves to walk us through it?
mostly the first time you do any pattern, it is so much easier if someone will guide you. And if you know how to run a pattern and you understand the basic structure and you pay attention to it, then as you run someone through it, you're developing that ability to do it yourself. Usually experience it 2 or 3, 4 times. Do it 2 or 3 times, and then you're ready to do it with yourself. Trying to do it before you experience it is really difficult because you're trying to play 2 roles. You're guiding yourself and you're trying to experience. So you step into the experience, you step out, step back into the experience, step out. It's the hard way. I wouldn't recommend doing it with yourself first. Let someone guide you.
Okay. Okay, Michael, that's a question inside my head that after I know that the objective of the LPG is to have a sustained genius state. And the impact, what do you think about the impact of having a sustained genius state? What is the impact from having that?
Well, you will integrate that meta-stating skill. Now, meta-stating is what we all do. Everybody does it. Most people do not do it very efficiently or with intention and effectiveness, but we all do it. We take something and we apply it to ourselves. It sets a frame, and oftentimes we don't even know we're doing it. We metastate ourselves with fear. We metastate ourselves with anger. We metastate ourselves with contempt. And we create all kinds of disastrous states, states that now we need some therapy for. So when you do this and you learn it even more thoroughly, and that meta skill of metastating and being conscious of it and running the ecology check, once you do that, you've got a much healthier way of using your self-reflexive consciousness so that it is really serving you and not setting up different kinds of dragon states where you're turning your energy against yourself.
Okay, thank you. That's another question. How can abundance sustain our genius state, Michael?
Well, remember, abundance is that sense of there's more. In the intangible world, the more is so obvious. The more I love, the more I can love. When I love, it doesn't make me less able to love. So the intangible thing of love or knowledge or meaning or contribution or truth speaking, all of these things just amplify because capacity amplifies. So that's in the intangible world. But we now know that in the tangible world, we can create more abundance. In the 1970s, predicting the amount of oil that they were predicting that's in the planet and how long it would last, they were predicting it was going to end in 2 decades. But in between, we found how to much more efficiently use the oil so that now it's extended much further because we have more, we can get more abundance from it. In the 1970s, they were predicting crop failure and poverty and hunger all over the world. But between now and then, technology has led us to know how to get so much more abundance from smaller farms and less farms than we were depending upon 5 decades ago. So even in the tangible world, when you have the right technology, there's abundance can be created so that there's more and there's overflowing of more. And this is where human creativity comes in, and we can do that in the tangible world as well as the intangible. This is abundance, and when you live from abundance, then you're not falling back into jungle competition and trying to hold other people's down as if living in a world of win-lose. Abundance leads you to win-win. And that is the theme of collaboration that we have in Neuro-Semantics.
Okay. Another question from Cristiano is that what is this similar with the framework or not? But I read it the question first. What is behind this structure of these 4 teams, and why do these 4 teams bring sustainability? Is that all, or is there anything else beside this?
Well, I'm sure there's more. These 4 answer the key questions about what could stop us. And that's why we put it together in that way.
Okay, it's really a fantastic for me. I just want to like restatement what Marzuki just said when you are living in the moment about how I can understand more about LPG now than before. For me, it's like when you said that APG, we have 14 patterns. At the beginning of learning, it seems a lot. It seems a lot, right? Takes a moment. We have a friend in Indonesia, Pak Rico. He do a receipt for APG like 11 or 14 times. And yeah, because of that richness and need to understanding. But at the moment, I think this is enough for the APG for me. But when what you said, what you explained, like Marzuki also said that we need something to make us bringing out how we can bring to contribute. And this LPG for me is, oh, okay, so that is also the state that I need to help me to really how we can contribute to the others. So yeah, this really make me need to learn about the LPG now. Thank you. Any other question from the others? I think, oh, there's one question, right? We learn how create new metastate pattern in the LPG training. Do we learn how create new metastate?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
You're experiencing 18 more. And so every single time you're doing the same metastating process, which you learned in APG, access a state, apply it. If it's not strong enough, amplify it, apply it, appropriate it, and then analyze it to make sure it's ecological. So you go through that pattern every single time. You're going to do it 18 more times, and you'll get the idea. Access, amplify, apply, appropriate, analyze. And so now the question is, what do you want to access? For what purpose? In what context? And so now people start to get the idea. The world is my banquet of all kinds of choices for what to metastate.
Okay, Michael, can you talk a little more about the metastate certification?
The metastate certification?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of it, people are given the test, and then we certify that they have been through now 7 days, at least, of metastating training and processing and working on that. And so way back in, I think 1998, when I first did LPG, we were giving metastate certifications. Those who keep doing LPG have been continuing to do that. But for the most part, most people go through APG, but they still don't have a metastate certification. They've just begun the process of learning, and going through APG one time, it's more priming it so that you get ready to experience it. And so most people don't really experience it till the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. And now they're beginning to understand this, working with their self-reflexivity and how to work with it, how to manage these logical levels, and how this meta space, this meta place is developed. And so now with LPG, refreshing it and going further, and then turning loose by, okay, you create your own.
Okay, that's a question from Joy about any resource recommend to learn more about the various pattern, please?
Any results?
Textbook,
Of
website,
what?
recommended to learn more about the pattern.
I'm not understanding the question.
Oh, maybe Jason, can you help me to state it?
From metastate dragon slaying to meta magic, which is on the shop, to secrets of personal mastery. All of those are metastate books, and all of those will deepen it. The metastate magic is a book that now is a summary of the 3 years of the metastate journal that we put out, and it goes into a lot of the patterns of LPG in a lot of detail, and that's on the shop as well as some of the others.
Okay, so any other question? If not, I just want to check, Michael, how many minutes do you have more? Because you need to go to studying the class.
Yep. Yep, we're in the middle of unleashing vitality, and we've got a lot of vital people out in the hallway ready to storm the door and come into this room and continue their training this afternoon. So we'll be wrapping up here in just 2 or 3 minutes. So let me say, LPG is the next step. It's the next step in development after APG. If you've had APG, ask your trainer to train LPG. The manual has been recently updated, and trainers should be able to train those patterns, whether they've even experienced them. And so it will take you to the next level. It is generative neurosemantics. And I think it's time for us to step up and encourage everybody who's had APG now to move it into the next level where they can get the metastate certification. And then you'll be a metastate practitioner. So with that, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Yudi. Thank you, everybody. We have to go.
Thank you,
We'll
Michael.
see you next time on the next community Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Bye-bye.
before everyone leaves, while you guys stay here, we just have a couple of more things for everybody else here before we officially close out the session today. How was that for you? Was that valuable for everybody here? I know I had quite a few takeaways there for myself from the versatility of the LPG training program. I think is one of the things that I'm really taking away for myself about, as a receiver, how can I use this as a continuance process to learn how to continue or to sustain? And also as a trainer, how versatile it is, where we could teach each day as a one module. So one day, how we could teach it as a metastate certification, or attend it to learn how to intentionally use our metastates more intentionally, rather than Michael was saying about unintentionally having that happen. So I wonder what your biggest takeaway is, and feel free to write it in the chat or to just hold it in mind. What would you like to take away from this that would impact you? Before we end, we have a couple of announcements, and we're going to take our group photo. So as we kind of transition here, let me see here what we've got. So, okay, so we already heard our announcement about NSTT. Please reach out to David if you have not yet and you are interested in attending. The early bird special is ending soon. I'm really looking forward to it myself, and getting back for all of us in person, in community, and of course to deepen our skills in training and public speaking. We've got here, let's see, Bruno, you want to share for a moment about the upcoming training in Mauritius?
Yes, thank you.
Please mute yourselves if you can. Please mute yourselves.
Yeah, yeah, but sorry, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of background noise, but I just wanted to share that we are having I'm sorry, but there's a lot of background noise.
Bruno are being muted.
So, hello everybody. A very quick announcement that we'll be running LPG with PCMC and LPG at the end of this year. So we are right now discussing with Michael about the dates. We'll let you know, but Michael said, it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for trainers to follow LPG and then be able to train it. And we'll be offering a online possibility also.
Thank you so much, Bruno. And I just wonder if someone from the Brazil team would like to speak real briefly, Jairo, about the upcoming training with Michael.
Yes, in October, Michael is going to teach 2 trainings in Brazil. One is Unleashing Authenticity, 2 days, and the other will be first time the meta therapy, 3 days. This will be in the first one will be October 11, Authenticity 11 and 12, and meta therapy will be 14, 15, 16 of October. We are trying to make also online parts, but the big problem online, Michael doesn't give certificates for online courses. But it will be, if you want to experiment without receiver certificates, we are welcome.
Thank you so much, Jairo. And so,
thank you.
Jairo, please type the email address where people can reach out to you if you're interested in the chat. Please type your email address.
Okay.
And you as well, Bruno. So if anybody is interested in the LPG with Bruno or attending the authenticity or the first time ever, the new meta therapy training with Michael Hall, then reach out to Jairo with the email below. So we're just going to take our group photo now. So please turn your camera on if it hasn't been, if you'd like to be seen in this photo of having participated in this once in a lifetime event with Michael. This event will never happen again in just this way, with just these people, with just these technical difficulties. And so we were in the perfect space to share this awe-inspiring moment together. And so last frame is just please do not type in the chat just for a couple of moments. And while Marzuki takes the photos. Yeah, Marzuki? So put on your biggest, best meta smile, and we'll see you back here in just a moment.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's the first shot. And the second shot, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Did that work out? Yeah.
Yep, they work out well.
Wonderful. So Yudi, feel free to unmute yourself as well. And everyone, thank you so much for co-hosting and co-moderating Yudi.
Yeah.
Give Yudi a big round of applause.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And give yourselves a big round of applause. Our next community session will be on October 8th. So keep your eyes out for your email from your institute leader. We've got our next wisdom session scheduled for November 12th. Again, keep your eyes open in your email from your institute to let you know about those dates. And again, feel free to unmute yourself and say goodbye in your native language or however you'd like to. See you guys next month.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Good to see you so much. See you soon.
Bye.
Até a próxima.
See you in person at some point.
Até
Good to
mais.
see you, Lydia. Good to see you, Juliana.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Hariko.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Thank you. And